Josh Kronfeld, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Dom. Don't know what I'm not sure if I'm excited or what the vibe is with these things. But you just end up doing them and then they occur.
Do you enjoy the reminiscing aspect of the tapestry of your life?
I think I do. But often I think things have got blurred. I've had some recent head knocks more recently, and so some of me can't work out what is actually truth and growing flavour. So when I've got to talk intimately or publicly about stuff, there's a sort of a doubt and a nervousness that sort of creeps in, which is, I know it seems really weird, but it's just, I guess, part of dealing with these concussive states and CTE and all these other things that are sort of cropping up in the rugby world now. I guess it's just part of the management of it, and you can't take the old man's factor out of it either. So,
well, also you're when was the last time you read your book? Because you put a book out at the end of your career.
Well,
quarter of a century.
Ironically, I've just started saying yes to speaking engagements because of the head stuff. I thought, no, use it or lose it, and I sat down and read my book so I could make sure that I knew what was going on.
Just like a refresher, because I think. As you get older, what was your truth, say, 20 years ago may not be your truth now. You may look back at things differently, and that happens.
Yeah. There's some stuff that happened, and when I was sort of flicking through and reading chapters, I was going, oh, geez, did that happen like that? Crikey, really, that's pretty intense. Like, I didn't realise it was that intense because you've watched it.
Yeah.
You've dealt with it, and it's not poignant or just like, like that nagging sort of burning sensation that you've got to, say something about it. I guess you've just left it behind and it's not an issue anymore.
Well, it's a time thing, eh? So at the time, something which may be a whole chapter of the Josh Kronfeld story, after a decade becomes a paragraph, and then eventually it's just like a sentence or a footnote.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hey, there's so much to unpack with you.
Oh, that's scary.
I thought we'll start with some miscellaneous bits and pieces. First of all, you met Taiki Waititi yesterday. What was I
was really chuffed to meet him because, you see him on telly and he's got this certain charisma and I love the stuff that he puts into his movies and the story he's telling and the humour and the way he creates humour through not just like verse but the expressions and the colour and the settings. Just love what he does, and I'm not a super I've got to meet the man or whatever, but it's kind of cool.
He's a big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal, and so yeah, I was a bit flustered yesterday. I was at the haka thing and
the world record attempt,
and I've just come back from Wellies and massive week with charity runs and the rugby and obviously too much drinking and I was just like I was still hyped on that, and I met his kids and I thought that's fantastic, great, and I was trying to be funny and witty, and then mum and dad walked around the corner and I was shake his hand and introduced them. And when it got to mum, I was just about to ask him a question, and it came out when I greeted his mum. It was, hey, bro. And I said, no. I was just cringing internally. And it's just like, who does this dumb shit? You do, man.
Oh, so you said hey, bro, to Taiki's mum?
Yes.
Oh, it's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
Look, mate, I like meeting mums and dads. I like to make a good impression, and I just instantly went thudunk and hit the floor and just, when you trip and you run and you shingle your face across the tarmac, that's what it felt like.
Mm. That's great. But it's nice to know that you get embarrassed about these things. It's cool. Dude. I thought it'd be water off a duck's back for you. You seem like such a chill dude.
Yeah, some things are. Some things I just go over and over and over in my head, and and again, this could be part of the whole concussion thing, you know, because you do really random things, and my wife's pretty cool. She goes, "You're over going into this," because on the flip side, I'm the first person to go, "Nah, doesn't matter. I'll chuck that away or whatever," you know. But some things just go round and round in my head, and I think that's probably pretty normal of most people. But
just that overthinking aspect.
Yeah. But I have. It's a new thing. I never had it when I was younger. It was bulletproof, you know. But everything was a lot sharper and crisper, and you know, if someone gave me a bit of a quip, I had a retort straight away. Now it's like, I know I've got something there, but
just going through the filing cabinet.
Yeah, but it might take a little while to come out. But then
like a buffering computer.
I've already missed the moment, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So you're an ambassador for Tenor.
Yeah.
That's sort of how this chat came about. By the way, I'm wearing them right now.
Is that right? Well, if they work, they work.
Well, I've never had to wear them before, so it's sort of like an adult diaper, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're an ambassador for Tenor as part of like Blue September.
Yeah.
What's
Tenor's pretty cool because, like, you know, they're not saying like I've got to bang their products out or anything like that. What they want to say is they want to open up the chat, and you know, because guys are just crap about talking about their health issues. And ironically, you know, like pelvic floor issues, you know, getting it up, all that sort of stuff, they're all linked. And so when you start getting some of the symptoms and, you know, as things start cropping up, it could actually be related to your heart. And so by going and have the chat to the doctor or within your group or your wife, you might end up getting it checked out. And it might turn out to be nothing, but it also might be symptomatic for something else, and you've got a head start. Because what we're finding, especially with things like prostate cancer, is if you do the mahi and you get in early, it's preventable. But problem is in New Zealand, and it's worldwide really, but with our Kiwi blokes especially, we don't talk about stuff. We don't communicate. She'll be right, you know, hard man, all that sort of stuff. But if you had just gone in when you first noticed some symptoms and, you know, like a slower stream, you know, it just seems to take forever to get a pee out, you know, or even, you know, you're getting a bit aroused, you should be getting aroused about a certain moment. It's not quite happening how it should, you know, like, then, you know, if you ask the question, you might find out, and you go in, you get the checks up, nothing's there, but you go in, you get the checks out, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, look, there's an issue here. And when you get fully into it, you actually might find out that there's some cardiac issues, you know, so the link is there, and especially with prostate. Come on, dudes, let's get in, get the check.
So easy. And it's so easy to get done.
You know, and don't get me wrong, you know, obviously the digit check is one, and they say and then the blood test for your PSAs, you do both those together, you're pretty, and everything comes up clear, they can pretty much say you're fine. You know, and depending on your age group, you know, you've got to do your checks pretty regular. But it's not really that invasive.
No. You know? No, and it's, I mean, the doctor doesn't want their finger up your bum as well. It's uncomfortable for everyone involved, but they're very professional about it. But this is the first time I've worn like tenor liners. I just wore them today since you're an ambassador. It's like a very, very, very chunky underpant. But it's I'm not mocking them because I'm 51 and I'm fortunate that I haven't had any issues yet. But that may very well be the future, you know. But you got to be you can't roll the dice with your health, can you? Yeah,
I mean, but even, you know, like, you know, if you go through the stats, you know, there were some stats that came out about longevity at the moment, and what they're saying is there's a few ramp up periods where things start really ticking, and 40 is the first one, and 60 is the second one, and where all your symptomatic stuff that may lead to, you know, your kick in the bucket, all start at those, you know, those brackets. And so when you hit 40, he should just start doing the tests. And then, you know, they're so easy these days. I do get the socio-economic side of things, you know, like I've got insurance, so when I've had to actually go and do the extra checks on top of the doctor, you know, I've been able to go and get those straight away. And that's nice and it's good peace of mind, but for lots of people that's an issue too.
Yeah, I'm 51 now. So it's not a long tradition, but something I started when I was 50 was on my birthday or birthday week, just going to the doctor for a full medical test. I've only done it twice, but I can understand. It's like $70 or $80, whatever, to go to the doctor. So I can understand if money's tight and you're feeling perfect. A lot of people wouldn't, I suppose, have the luxury of spending that money.
Yeah, but that is one of the safety nets. But I guess, and again, this has been what Tina are trying to drive. The second safety net is creating these chat groups. You know, because when you say to one of the boys, I just went on, I had to check and rah, and they're going, oh, yeah. And then one of the other boys say, yeah, I've had it done. And then one of the other boys hasn't done anything. But because you start saying the reason why you've gone in or, you know, had the check, they start thinking, oh, jeez, I've got a bit of that going on. And then he'll go home and maybe he speaks to the wife or whatever, or family, you know, associated family, and then next thing he's in getting the check. So I think there's a certain stigma or the masculine side of things that they feel, you know, they feel that pressure. But I think if we are open and we have the discussions and, you know, and you can do it kind of funny. I mean, I was talking about, I've been dealing with some, you know, I was a regular with some of my stool and stuff like that. So I got in and saw the doctor and you know, and they felt it was part of hemorrhoids, and the next level of the hemorrhoids is the fissures and stuff like that. And so I went in to get the check, and, you know, I was telling the boys about it, and I says I went in there and, you know, I met the doctor and he comes out with this beautiful voice, you know, big, deep and sexy. And I was just going, oh, this just doesn't seem right. And then he, you know, and then he starts telling me what the chest, and then, you know, he's going through it all, and he gets me comfortable and everything like that. And then, you know, and then he's lubing me up, and then in goes the probe, and he starts winding it round like it's bloody butter churn. I'm thinking, crikey. I'm thinking, just relax. And he's and he goes, oh, you've broken a bit of a sweat. And I'm thinking, who doesn't break a sweat? You know, but once it was done and dusted, you know, it was over. It's pretty quick, and you know, and then you're on to a treatment plan and all that sort of stuff. But also, you know, that while they're there, they're doing the checks as well. You know, they can rule out the prostate, because obviously when they're in there, they can see if it's enlarged or not. Well, feel if it's enlarged, and you know, and look, I reckon, you know, half peace of mind and security, and not having that worry and anxiety. Because I mean, the word anxiety is the biggest word in public. You know, like everybody talks about anxiety. You know, our young people, our older people, and it's a big killer. You know, it leads to heart issues and stuff. They say stress and anxiety are the key drivers for people. You know.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that stuff and opening up. I had Dean Barker on the podcast, and so he had bowel cancer, and he had like blood in his stool for ages. Didn't even tell his wife Mandy about it, and I was like, "Why didn't you even tell her?" And he goes, "Oh, it's embarrassing. It's not like, but it's we got to normalise these conversations a bit more, eh?"
And that's the whole premise of you know, me doing stuff in September and again in Movember. I really enjoy Movember as well. You know, it's a great period, and obviously the Movember charities, you know, because it's fun, you know, like then you can have the discussions, and you know, because everybody's wearing a mo, although some of the mo's are awful, but you know, and my wife hates it every year. She goes, "Oh, you're doing that again?" And I go, "Yeah," but well, the thing is, I never shave it off straight away. That's the thing that annoys me the most. It usually makes it to Christmas, you know, handlebars and whatnot, or it turns into whatever it turns into.
Well, if you spend a month cultivating it, it seems a shame to waste it.
That's the way I feel about it too.
Hey, we've got some miscellaneous stuff here, so we'll poke around with some of these little random bits and bobs of the Josh Kronfeld story, and then we'll go in some sort of chronological order.
Yeah.
First of all, you were once named the 99th best-looking rugby player in the world. Is that a...
Well, not amongst the boys. It was like when it, obviously I can't remember the title, but they had everyone rated from best-looking through to not so best-looking.
How long was the list?
It was 100, exactly. It was 100. And anyway, I was 98.
98.
And so the boys came in and they were talking about it, and we were laughing, and they were going, "Crush, you're 98, mate. What's going on with that?" And I said, "Oh, well, give us a look." And so they had all the pictures right, and all the guys that were rating really highly, you know, like Jeremy Guscott, he is a beautiful looking man. There's no doubt about it. But he was in in a black tie suit, you know, the bow tie, looking all zhushed up, ready to go. And then they had, and Jeff was about like 5 or 6. Jeff Wilson, you know, he had the long golden hair, you know, the flowing hair at that time, and of course he was in a suit and all dressed up. And then they had me at 98, and
so offensive.
with the headgear, you know, like. And I'm screaming at someone, like, you know, it's all pushed in, and I'm thinking, not so fair. And then the funny part of it is, we're all just sort of finished laughing about it, and me, you know, saying, "Oh, it's not right, and Anton Oliver walks in and he goes, "Oh, what's so funny? What are you guys laughing at?" And the boy said, "Oh, Josh is the second ugliest man in world rugby." Oh, and he goes, "Oh, that's funny. And he goes, "Oh, who's the ugliest?" And everyone just erupts, which is totally unfair to him, but he's a good man.
So he's 99.
No, he's 100.
100. Who? What publication did this?
Oh, I think it was one of those
like Daily Mail or something.
Oh, you know, like the UK tabloid type things.
Right.
You know, it was 2-page spread, like with a little caption under each person and stuff, and. No, it was gold. I mean, it gave us great amusement.
And this is going to age the conversation. A lot of people won't even know what I'm talking about when I say this, but you're in a PlayStation game. You're in Jonah, Lomu Rugby.
Yeah.
When did that come out? Was that in late 90s? Was that a PS2?
Yeah.
What was the...
Yeah. It would have been PS2, I think, from memory, yeah.
But an iconic game.
Yeah, it was massive. All the boys were playing it. You know, Andrew Mertens was very good at it. And, yeah, I played it a couple of times. I could never get the hang of it, but yeah. And then they'd have, they had the commentators, you know, saying some of their favourite things that they'd use, you know, like, there's Josh Kronfeld burrowing like a demented mole or something like that. Yeah, something like that. You know,
do you still have a copy of it? Is there any way to play it?
I never had a copy of it. And I think I've thrown the PS2 out. Oh, there might be one there. I don't know. No, it might have even been PS1, to be honest.
Because I suppose, like, when you're in the thick of it and it's your career and you're just on this game, it's like a whatever sort of thing. But you must look back now and go, "Fuck, that was cool."
Yeah. I never thought much about it at the time. It was kind of, you know, like in today's games, if you got it and it'd be really lifelike version of you. You know, I was a pretty pixelated version with a black thing on my head instead of hair.
Yeah. And there was a movie made about the 1995 World Cup, which we'll get into later. But the movie was called Invictus. Yeah. Who were you in that? Who played you?
I actually don't know.
No.
I don't know. I don't think you know, like we registered much in it. I mean, Jonah would have, but, you know, because he was massive.
So you were just some extra with headgear on.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. Like, this, I know, and I've never seen the storyline, but I've flicked through the actual book that it was based on. And, you know, like that, I think discovering just what that meant to everybody over there, it just changed my whole look on it. But I think quietly, I always felt like I knew there was something special going on in South Africa. Like when we rocked over there, and you know, they just returned from a hiatus of out in the ether world of not being involved in any international sport, and they dropped apartheid, and this was their first showcase moment, and they were actively trying to state that we're rainbow people and one people and stuff. And while we were there and walking around with armed security and guards with machine guns and everything like that, and training behind 15-foot wire fences, and there was obviously the white areas and there was obviously the black areas, and there was such a segregation still. You know, I mean, you can't just break those boundaries down, but to me it was still pretty obvious. And you'd go to the grounds and you'd see all the black community, and I mean, see, I don't even know how to address that PC wise. I'm not sure I'm even doing it properly, you know. But the black population would be all there in their homemade all black jerseys, you know, with everything, you know, the Silver Fern, the Steinlager label, all hand sewn, made from T-shirts, and then the collars all sewed in with the button, and just immaculate. And they'd be chanting, I can't remember what the Afrikaans or, you know, but they'd be chanting basically "Go Black," and there'd be like hundreds of them out all behind the barbed wire fences. We'd come out, and we'd take photos, you know, proper photos, old school photos, and sign things and their jerseys and stuff like that. And they were adamantly pro the All Blacks, you know. And then you walk in off the bus and you'd be having to go through the crowds to go into Ellis Park, and the big white balls would be spitting on you. It was such a contradiction of energy, you know, and it was kind of mind blowing. And you know, like when we got to the World Cup final, you know, I still felt part of that. You know, I don't think there'll ever be a World Cup final like it again. Well, no, actually, no. Let me take that back. I don't think there'll be a World Cup like it ever again. You know, just for the sheer growth of a country. You know, when they say, not, you know, when we have events and they say, you know, they actually drag the country into the doldrums, you know, and break the countries economically and stuff. For that World Cup was the restart of, you know, what they call the Rainbow Nation, you know, them being one people. They've still got their turmoils, but World Cups have meant a lot to that country. Yeah,
that's special, and we'll get into that in greater detail later on, because there's so much to talk about there. But just a couple more miscellaneous bits. So I spent part of my very early life in Hastings. So I think our family had like a year-long pass to Fantasyland. You worked at Fantasyland for
I worked there.
When did you work there? Was it just before it switched to Splash Planet, or?
No, way before. It was Fantasyland for a number of years. So I would have been, so I'd gone to uni, so I'd have been 19, and 18, 19, and so I'd probably work for them when I come back from uni. And my last year probably was 92, 93 maybe.
I loved Fantasy. A lot of people won't even know what we're talking about, but it was like a theme park in Hastings.
Yeah, so I worked on all the rides, and then when some of the big bosses were away, I sort of took over as supervisor of different things, and I was even chief mechanic for a little while.
That's a worry.
We also rebuilt one of the a really old school ride, which was the bumper cars, you know, like, and the cars looked like Noddy's car, you know, and with the big steel things around it, had a positive and negative track, you know, and rows all the way in a circle. And, you know, because the modern ones have the bar up above them. And anyway, we reassembled the whole track and, you know, with the roof on and everything like that, and then broke down all the cars and rebuilt them. And of course and then I was working at the Happy Tab at the same time, and I spent 70 hours of working for that whole holiday period.
Wow.
And I made just a little over maybe 10 grand in that period, just going for it. And but I was also training for my sort of first kickoff year with Otago. And
so how old were you at the time? Like 18, 19?
Yeah, 18, 19, yeah, not maybe 19, 20 right. Maybe, because 93. So yeah, I don't know what the maths is. But I went home and I'd broken up with my girlfriend, and I think I was a little depressed. You know, I wouldn't say it, but the whole thing had just left me feeling really empty. And I came home, and so I just went on this training campaign, and I'd run to work, which I don't know was maybe 5 or 6 Ks from across one side of Hastings to the other, and I'd do the work, and then I'd run back to the gym, and I'd smash out crazy ass tin, and then I'd run home, and Mum would have this massive feed for me, and I'd just power it down, and then I'd get in the car and drive to the Happy Tab and work as a glassy or a bouncer or on the bar. I just did whatever they wanted me to do, and then so I did that for like 3 months. And then I went back for sevens, and I was ripped to bits, but hadn't really put on any weight. And of course, when I got to the sevens, over a sort of a 3-week period of training with the sevens, where the training sort of changed a little bit, it got more high intensity, you know, like about speed and stuff like that. And I dropped from doing, you know, way too many weights during the week to just like a couple of sessions a week. And I hadn't been drinking, and the boys were saying, "Come on, Crush, we'll go for a couple of beers," and so we'd have a couple of beers, and so suddenly, my body had a chance to catch up. I think I was overtraining, and then with the extra carbs from alcohol, I know that sounds really wrong, but just a bit of everything, I put on, I would say 8 to 10K. In the space of about 3 weeks, just went, and which was kind of really weird. But I also think maybe at time with, you know, like at that age group, you sort of thicken out. You know, when I went back home before doing all the training, and I had never been dedicated to training like I was that particular summer. I was a waif. I was long and wiry and stuff, and then. Yeah.
Where did that drive come from at that age? Like to work 70 hours a week and train really hard as well. That's something special.
Yeah, look, I think a little bit of it was I just needed cash. I needed to, you know, like obviously, you know, university. The first year there was a little cost of university, and each year the cost had ramped up. And I could also see the debt that I was incurring, and I didn't like that. It does, you know, like. I felt really scary, and I just didn't like being in that situation. So I've worked all the way through university, different jobs and whatnot. I worked as a Valley Industries in Dunedin, and every holidays, because I mean obviously it was a 3-year term in those days, and so I just worked those mainstream holidays as a sheet metal worker, you know, and then I work in the holidays, but I try to keep. And so I just try and make these boxes of money versus actually, you know, trying to work the whole year. Because, I mean, you're there to study.
Yeah.
And I was okay at study, but, you know, I was doing the Dunedin thing. It was pretty special.
You went back as an adult and got a second degree, so I'd argue you're good at study. And another thing that's worth highlighting, just a point to drive home. So back when you're working 70 hours a week as in your late teens and you're doing all this hard training as well, rugby was still amateur then. So it wasn't like that wasn't your pathway out of. You were doing it just for the sport and not for the financial reward.
I think I'd had one season where I'd trained. I had 2 games for Otago. One is a Otago president's side, and I think we played against New Zealand universities, and then I had 1 game in the NPC against Southland. And in the game against Southland, I just got absolutely stitched up by Paul Henderson, and that kind of really irked me. And through a couple of things that happened, Gordon Hunter, he said to me, I want you to go and ring Ginge and have a discussion. And I didn't. I just ignored it. And then I went home, and then I sort of thought about it a little bit, and I thought, if you want to push up into the next level, because I'd always been the bench warmer for a guy called Tony Hunt, who was the incumbent for Otago at the time, and I'd never played for any of the Otago sides pre that. I couldn't make under 19 Otago, couldn't make under 21s Otago, but I had played. I was top dog if I'd stayed in Hawke's Bay, and so I went to all the national New Zealand stuff on the stuff that I'd done in Hawke's Bay, but still couldn't make any teams. Just little white boy, But so I just thought I've got to make some changes here, and I guess it coincided with being pissed off at a wee girl, and decided I'm going to go home and I'll show everyone.
Yeah.
I'll show everyone.
Well, that's a great a reflection. Great way to deal with your heartbreak, just to bury yourself into some hard work.
Yeah, well, when I look at it back now, I just think, why did I even feel that heartbreak? But I was young, I didn't know any different.
It's
I also said to myself, I was never going to feel like that again.
Yeah.
Let that sort of stuff. So I learned from that moment too. There's, even when you're feeling how you're feeling, there's opportunities to negate that, and ironically, it was through work and training that and I was really enjoying the work too, you go, obviously at Fantasyland, we're dealing with people and stuff like that, but I was also rebuilding stuff. It's lovely to create or restore stuff, it was a really cool job that summer. And then at night, you're just around people that are just wanting to have a good time, so it's fun. And I loved being glassy, working the doors got its ups and downs, and working the bar is just manic. But when you're glassy, you're out and you can talk to people, you can pick stuff up, and you can socialise. It was a really good period.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was nice.
And just a couple more of these miscellaneous bits. You once called Paul Henry a dickhead on live TV. Was this after you got voted off Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, it was. Oh, it just seemed so wrong. I mean, he to be honest,
it's a great.
I don't know how he used to say stuff about the girls, and don't get me wrong, I'm probably as bad as most males, in that respect, but he just says stuff on public television, and I just go, that's just not right. And anyway, and he'd made a few comments about Rachel. I mean, she was a beautiful. All right, she was a sexy-looking woman. She was beautiful. She was attractive. She wore clothing that accentuated, who she was, and she's a dancer. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter. They wear clothes that present them in an attractive, dare I say it, feminine light. And I don't know if that's even PC to say it like that, but that's the way she was. And then he made a quip about her boobs, and it just really annoyed me because I saw her roll her eyes around, and I thought, mate, if you've been a dickhead, you've been a dickhead. You know, simple as that. And Rach was stoked. She was, you know, like she said to me afterwards, that was awesome. So I didn't realise it was going to make such a hit, but anyway.
No, it was good. You called him out. I suppose you were woke before woke was a thing.
Yeah.
Well, not even woke, just chivalrous.
Yeah, maybe. Like it just was wrong, mate. I just wouldn't make a quip about someone's breasts ever, you know, like so publicly in front of, you know, and he knew it too, you know. But I mean, he's always been good at
poking the bear. Yeah, absolutely. You were once the rugby coach of Machu Walters from 660.
Yeah. Those boys are Eli Pauai and Awani. They.
When was that? So this was when you were back studying physiotherapy in Dunedin as an adult, post your rugby career.
Yeah, so I went back to uni. Decided I wanted to be a physio, and John Leslie said he was going to coach the Colts at that time, and he asked if I'd do it, and I said, yeah, I can do that. That sounds good. And so he was head coach, definitely head coach, and I was but I was, you know, looking after the forwards. You know, he wanted me to look after the forwards, and I reckon we had a real good cop, bad cop sort of scenario going. You know, like he was serious about things, and I'd lighten it up, and then, you know, when I was serious, he'd lighten it up. You know, so we worked really well together. But the one thing that we really wanted the boys to understand is how much fun university rugby is, and we wanted them to play hard, train hard, and party hard. You know, we wanted them. Well, whenever I talk about my time in university, especially when I was playing university rugby, it's magical. It's so, like, you can't put it in any other words. It's magical. Like you're playing with guys who are like-minded, who are fun. You're all doing the same thing together at uni. You know, obviously different parts of, but you're in an institute together there, and it's all about just enjoying the moment. And my first year at university, we had Tony Gilbert, who became later on a coach. And,
Highlanders coach for many years.
And I've gone blank, and sorry, and this is what happens. I just lose. And he was a great man. Passed away, and
not Gordon.
No, pre-Gordon, and I feel embarrassed. I can remember his wife's name here on, but that's it. Anyway,
it'll fix it with AI or something.
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back. I was under pressure. I just pulled it out. Couldn't pull it out. But they were a great, you know, that coaching pair that just encompassed just about enjoying your time together as a team, you know. And so, and then I went from there, and then they coached us later on with University A, and I did 3 years with them, and we had a 3-peak win, and it was all about, you know, the time within the team and playing really good brand of code, and then going out and sharing the joy of it afterwards. And so when Machu and the boys came in, we really, really wanted them to have that too, you know. And so, you know, we did things that we did at university with them, and they seemed to love it.
What, like court sessions? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, we did court sessions, yeah. Although the first couple of court sessions that they ran, John and I, you know, we finished it, and we did it a couple of times, and we were walking home afterwards, and I was speaking to Jail, and I says, geez, that was pretty awful, wasn't it? He goes, they're terrible. They don't understand it all. And so anyway, the next time we organised a court session, he made us take it. And so we set up the you know, how it's meant to be, you know, like it's a serious affair, but we're going to have fun when we're having fun. And, you know, and so the adjudication, because there's no talking out of turn. You only get, when you've got the stage, you can talk how long you want to talk, or unless there's a set limit to your talk time. But the judges are in control of everything. And if you are penalised or you abuse that, the judges come down as hard as they feel that they should. And often the team ends up, it grows that discipline because they had no discipline. And so next thing we know, they don't want the boys to play. They want us to run the court sessions, but we're trying to install it in them to get them to grow it. So I don't know how many we ended up taking with the boys, but eventually they got the hang of it. And you know, but what a lot of people don't get about court sessions, it's also a chance to air the negative stuff in a safe environment. You know, where a young man can put his hand up and say, I made a mistake, you know, I should, you know, whether it was not turning up to training or not being there or stuffing somehow up in the game or whatever. It's a safe environment, put his hand up, and the boys just will go, yay, you know, you've done it, you're awesome, you brought it out, and they'll pat you on the back, and then you're back in the fold, you know, you're not
just clearing the air.
And but it was also a time to champion the good stuff as well, you know, and like really make a song and a dance around some of the achievements that happened, because they weren't always about the rugby. It might be, you know, something that had been going on in the real world, and they've achieved something, and the boys would bring them in and celebrate that achievement as the team, you know. And so it was awesome. And you know, Marchu didn't want to sing in front of everyone, but everybody knew he had a good voice. And in the end, he was made to bring his guitar and play.
Really?
Yeah. And lead things.
Well, did you sort of see him grow in confidence over that time?
Yeah, definitely. And then like he just, you could see he didn't want to. Oh no, it's all good.
Too shy.
Yeah. But he'd do it under duress. And then it became, I mean, maybe other people saw it differently, but that's what it felt like for myself watching it. But he was an awesome part of that team and singing songs, because I can never remember all the words of songs anyway, so I just yell along.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that, because you've mentioned the memory thing a couple of times. Some other injuries, like I was going to say from the neck down, but there's 500 facial stitches. There's a left ankle reconstruction, elbow cleanouts, broken toes and fingers, broken wrists, rotator cuff tears, a broken nose and jaw, hip tears. 500 stitches to the face and head. How are you in the mornings now? Like when you get out of bed, first couple of minutes, is it slow to warm up? Or?
Some days it's really. I've got got given a beer from Slumber Zone, and they're oh man, that's like. All I can say is get a good bed. That like every time I climb in, it's good. Oh, you know. And when I roll out and put my feet on the floor, that's I never know how sore they're going to be.
Day by day. So in winter it's a bit sorer than summer.
Yeah, well, and also depends on how much weight I'm carrying.
Yeah.
You know, like at the moment I'm probably about 8 kg over what feels most comfortable. And that's my own fault. I've been through the winter, you know, rugby, you're invited to drink more than I normally drink, and then when you're drinking, you tend to eat more than you normally eat as well. So I think, you know, managing your weight as you get older makes a massive difference, especially if you're carrying stuff that's just not great. Like my ankles, when I was 33, I sprained my ankles in the St. John's people. I was racing motorbikes and I high-sided and flipped over and landed on my heels. And the St. John's people said, "Oh, we really need you to go to the A&E." And I just thought they were sprained. And so I went in, and they were just sprained. But doctor comes out and she sees me and she goes, "Oh my goodness," and I went, "Well, what do you mean, oh my goodness?" And she says, "Oh, I was expecting you to be an 80-year-old," and I says, "What do you mean?" She says, "Oh, well, I've just been looking at your ankles and they're just a mess, you know." And, you know, look, and if we jump back, I can understand why. When I jump back, you know, Stu Walsh, who did the original reconstruction surgery, and that I'd only played one season. I hadn't even finished the season. I was walking, we were in France, and I was walking back to start a game, and I hadn't strapped my ankles. I was going to get a calf massage and then get them strapped. And I stood in a pothole and rolled my ankle and blew it out, and just went home. Got sent home 10 days later, and had
you injured yourself like before the anthems, before the haka, before
anything. Yeah. So I didn't even. So it was a midweek game, and I needed to play that week. I'd injured it previously, and in the final against Auckland for NPC, and then we'd gone away to France, and they elected to take me, and everything was going to plan. I was back. I'd done 2 full trainings, and you know, and this was going to be my return game to see if I was okay, ready to play at a test level again, and just ironically stood in a pole, and
that's I mean, part of me thinks that's hilarious.
I know,
but there's a big part of me that says it's fucking devastating.
I was laughing and I was crying and I was having all of the emotions that you can have in those situations, and then came back, and Stu Walsh, who was always going to do a little clear out, because I'd broken a little lug off it. It's called an osteogomen off the back of your ankle, and it was giving me some jip, and they were just going to clean it out. It's like you're back and playing rugby in 2 weeks once it's cleaned out. And so that was going to be at the end of the season, but I destroyed my ankle. And so they effectively did 4 operations in one. It was about 4.5 hours on the table. And but I reckon about a year after it, or maybe about that duration, Stu said to me, "We weren't sure you were going to make it back. We were all having bets whether you were going to make it back." And I went, I'm glad you didn't tell me that. But and then when I think about the rehab back from that injury as well, was like I had no support. There wasn't someone taking me to do physio every day. I remember my first day of rehab was when I was allowed to get the boot off. I walked around a block. The second day I walked around it twice. The next day I walked around it 3 times, and then it was 2 blocks, and then 3 blocks, and then I was running, and then they said you need to be back on this date, and then so for playing Super, which was the last 3 Super games, I think, and so played about, I don't know, started the game, got about 60 minutes into the game, and I tweaked my ankle, and I freaked out, you know, I just went, oh, you know, and so I came off, and then I went and saw the specialist. And he said, no, it's fine. I think, you know, maybe a bit of scar tissue is what give you the pain. But, you know, because you're worried about it. You've already destroyed it. And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was just about to walk out the door, and I turned around and I said to the specialist, I said, John, can you have a look at my wrist? And anyway, because it's been really sore. I don't remember doing anything to it. It's been really sore. Anyway, poked and prodded, and he goes, oh, I think you've broken that. And so sent me upstairs for an x-ray, and it was broken. So I'd broken the whole lug off the side of the wrist. And, of course, I'm thinking, what do I do now? You know, I've you know, if I want to be an All Black, I've got to play. So I played a whole season with a broken arm. When I finished the season, it was still broken. You know,
yeah, just like taping it up.
Yeah, I had a little cast thing that I used to that was hard, that stopped the you know, because those days people used to stand on you. You know, and so it used, I just protected that. So yeah, that whole in '96, it wasn't great.
So you played 54 tests for the All Blacks. How many of them do you feel like you would have been playing at 100%? Or did you always have something going on?
No, I had. There was times when I was 100%. But if I think, like when I was at my best was that first year, because I was never the same. I couldn't run. Like, I don't know. I reckon it knocked 30% of my speed off me. So I just changed my game. I'd always got over the ball and picked the ball up, which was unique, I guess, in those days. But my whole real premise was on about support play. It was about getting to where I needed to get and trying to crop up in situations where I shouldn't crop up. And so that's kind of what I did. And then I realised I couldn't really do that. And I was starting to think, well, what else can I do in my game that's kind of pretty strong? And then I just thought, all right, well, I'm going to be on the breakdown. I'm going to be that dude that's a pain in the ass and steal ball and, slow stuff down and get people whinging at me. Stuff like that.
Yeah, because I know very little about rugby, but your position is the same as Richie McCaw's position.
Yes.
Was he a cheat? Everyone from every other country outside of New Zealand says he was a cheat.
No.
As an open side flanker yourself and someone that was good at it, what do you...
Look, mate, I had dudes turning up with a computer and showing it to the referee before games and saying, look at what Josh Kronfeld's doing. There was a massive hoo-ha about it, which I thought was pretty disgusting. Sure you have the conversation, but you don't turn up with video evidence. Anyway, look, so in terms of Richie, was he a cheat? No, he just understood the rules really well and applied it to the nth of being penalised, and that's a really good number 7, to be honest. Especially in the modern game. I mean, it's getting harder and harder. Like poor old Sam with, yellow cards, red cards, and that's not him. He's not doing that stuff intentionally. Yeah. He's pushing his body to the limit to be in the best position to do his job, and you can't adjust as quick as they say you need to. Like if you're tracking someone, especially when I think of Sam, if you're tracking someone and you're thinking, right, he's going to end up over there, I'm going to make a side-on tackle there, and so you're not going down into your tackle position yet because you're thinking you're going to make the tackle there, and then the dude suddenly steps back at you and you actually can't get out of the way. You're there. He's stepped back into you. And there's no way you can get down in that time. You're not expecting the step because you're thinking you can make the tackle just over there. Look, the game is... I can't work out how they managed to ref it. They've created so much issue around every situation, and I know they're trying to do it for safety reasons and stuff, but like a seatbelt tackle, why do we have seatbelts? To save people from breaking their necks and their shoulders and their arms and stuff like that for safety. Goes across the seatbelt. So how is a seatbelt tackle dangerous? Obviously, if you go around the neck, a whole different ball game.
There was another quote from you I read. It says, nothing works. My brain doesn't work as good. My body doesn't work as good. I don't have all those little nuances that gave me an edge anymore. The brain thing, I've noticed you've paused a couple of times, and to be fair, I think a lot of that is just when we hit our 50s. Yeah. But were there times in your career where you look back now and you think, because there's the whole HIA thing now, head injury assessment. Back then, if you knocked your head and you felt groggy, would you try and stay on?
Yeah.
Was that the...
Yeah, there was no reason to come off. Look, I think I know more about it now than I did that back then. And then, that's the whole premise of these court cases that are going around. Did the administration know about it? And I don't know. That'll come out in the woodwork when it does. But for me, I had a major concussion about 6 years ago, where I was knocked out in the water. Didn't know where I was. When I kind of came to in the water, apparently people had been pulling my head out. And
what, were you surfing?
Yeah, I was surfing. And I just remember lying in the water thinking, oh, that hurt. I just need a moment, like at the bottom of a ruck, just need a moment. I'm going to get up. And I know I need to take a breath of air, but at the moment I'm sweet. I just need a moment. And when I came up and sort of climbed on my board and I started paddling back into the current to go back out, because in my brain I was getting another wave. You know, I'm just taking a hit, but yeah, I'll be right by the time I get back out. And I was looking at the cliffs and I was going, Dunedin doesn't have cliffs like that. I was at Piha. So it took me going back in, took me about, 40 minutes getting changed and getting in the car and thinking, didn't feel dizzy, but I just couldn't work out where I was. And then I worked out that I was in Auckland, and then it was like, why am I in Auckland? And then I worked out that I was living in Auckland, and I didn't really remember where I was living till I got to the top of the Piha Hill, and I got to the top and I went into auto. Oh yeah, I live just down the road here. So,
geez, that's not great.
No, I know. And then by the time I got there, it was dark and it was probably 9 o'clock at night. And I came in, and my neck had seized up as well. Couldn't move it. And so I said to my wife, Bronwyn, I'm not good. I think you're going to have to take me to the hospital. So she rang and got a friend round to come look after the kids and took me to the hospital. The neck is poked. It's got lots of issues, but I hadn't done anything too major, so I hadn't fractured anything like that.
Are you worried about dementia or anything like that? Or is there a link between...
Yeah, so look, I've kind of didn't even finish that story in some respects. So obviously went through the whole process because I had a bit of a personality change over that period, and my wife started to get worried about it. I was just reactive, I just couldn't deal with stuff. And Bronnie says, we've got to go and get checked out. And so we went and got checked out, and everything came out pretty A-OK. But the thing that did come out was that when I was speaking to the concussive physio, she was explaining why I was getting so worked up, because I have a tracking issue. And so my eyes, and it's real common for people that have concussion, so my eyes, when they're tracking, each eye has an image that it's tracking, and the eyes put them in an angle that lays the image over each other like that. And for me, when I'm tracking, it sometimes does that. And, well, actually, it does it a lot, does it heaps. And so I spent about 5 months trying to train it, and it just gave up in the end. I just got too frustrated. It was just, and so I just enjoyed the halo that you have. And for some people, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And but the thing that highlighted is, when she explained all this stuff to me, I used to have a thing, I called it the gong. So you go into a situation, you go to get the ball, and you get smashed. And you can feel the hits coming. So sometimes you might close your eyes, but maybe sometimes those contacts were a little mini blackout, and you come out and you feel normal, you can compute and everything like that, but you physically feel and hear like someone's just hit a giant gong behind you, And I'd have one of those a month, without fail. And so the tracking thing started because I used to talk about the halo thing when I was about 20, and I had some tests and stuff like that. But no one ever really went down the brain route. They went down the neck route. And as it works out, when you treat someone's neck, often when they've had concussion through impact, the neck treatment relieves a lot of the concussion symptoms just by the general work. So I can understand why the doctors and everyone went that way. But that means, since I was 21, 22, I've had that concussive stuff all the way through my career. But as soon as someone explained it to me and So your brain is going, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. And so it's trying to fix the problem, and its reaction is flight or fright, you know. And so your cortisol levels are ranked all the time. And you're ready to go, and you don't know that. And I've always been a cruisy dude. And so to be reactive was kind of, or impatient.
Just to get frustrated or fly off the handle easy.
Yeah. And that's what my wife was talking about, because she'd never seen that. And but as soon as, and even Bronwyn will say this, like as soon as the physio explained it to me and I understood it, and they ruled out the other stuff like dementia and stuff like that. I mean, that's still something maybe for the future picture, but at the moment there was nothing that they could find. But as soon as I understood it, it was like the volume knob just got turned the opposite way, you know. And I went from being that really reactive to, you know, more my normal self. And don't get me wrong, I still struggle, you know, but I'm able to go, well, I know why you're getting fired up, so I can let that go and slide a bit. My kids might not say that though.
So one of your sort of, I guess, trademarks, I guess, was the headgear that you used to wear. Was that to protect your head or your ears? What's the purpose of?
So originally, you know, when I first started getting those symptoms as a young man, they decided it was the neck, and the people that were dealing with it suggested, well, why don't you try some headgear and see if that helps cushion the blows transferring down your neck, you know, because, you know, everyone remembers Sam Kane going into contact points, you know, like, and how he hits and some of the knocks that they're taking to the face and the head and all at the same time. And so I thought, well, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I wore headgear for maybe, I reckon, about 3 or 4 games. And I went, this isn't really working. And then I didn't wear it. And the next thing I knew, I had 15 stitches in my head. I had like, every time, felt like I played maybe about 3 or 4 games without it, and it felt like my head was going to explode after games, just because I was playing at that top level again now, you know, and it was just massive. And I thought, hey, I didn't have that for those other 4 games, you know, but I was playing at the same level. So I thought, I'll try wearing it again. Instantly made a difference, you know. So it just takes the bruising that you get straight to your skull and stuff like that. It was never going to, I might make a tiny difference.
Soften the blow somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. But if you're in a concussive situation, you're always going to, that's going to happen. It's not going to limit, it might decrease the level of it. I even did a little mini study on it when I was at phys ed school to see if it was a thing, because, you know, it's just what you did.
But it became a big part of you, didn't it? Like you could identify you by the headgear, and then there was the no nukes thing. What year was that?
Oh, crikey! So the no nukes thing must have been
97.
No, maybe 98.
98,
because they were still testing.
Yeah,
and obviously in the Pacific. And we would have been going over. Oh no! Oh, yeah, it must have been.
So you were so you first made the team in '95, so you were sort of well established.
Yeah.
But where did that come from? That sort of social conscience, or the?
Oh, look, I don't think I had it. I don't think I was that way of mind, but I was pretty liberal in thinking, and you know, and around lots of different people from, you know, I'd say unique backgrounds and thought processes and thinking.
Just that varsity environment.
Yeah, you know, that whole varsity environment. And my girlfriend and I, we were sitting there and we were reading the newspaper one night. It was newspapers.
Pre-internet.
Yeah, pre-internet, yeah. So, and I was just sitting around and I said, I can't believe that, you know, you've got French people, your people, because you're part of Polynesia, and you're testing in your people's backyard. And you're saying it's not safe. why aren't you doing it in France? You know, like not in the Polynesia. You know, it just didn't make any sense. And of course, we were all still, I think, aggrieved by the whole, you know, when they came over and did
Rainbow Warrior
thing. You know, so. You know, so there was a little bit of essence there, and so we were sitting there, and then anyway, I just got a new set of headgear through Canterbury. And I sort of, I said to a chicken, why don't we put a no nukes symbol on? So we were making sure we went around trying to make sure we got the right symbol, you know, and have it the right way up and all that sort of stuff. And then
so it's not a Mercedes badge.
Yeah. And then we had a twink. You remember the twink pens? You know, and we did it all with twink and by hand.
The pen or the bottle with the little brush?
You know, the squeezy, you know, with the dot and everything like that.
Correction fluid,
Yeah. And so we did it, and we didn't do too bad a job, but and we're laughing. It was a fun project with the girlfriend, and we laughed about it. And anyway, I wore it in I think it was the Shield Challenge maybe against. Waikato, and I didn't know I was going to create such a, you know.
You must have.
No, I didn't. But
this was a time where there was no sort of individuality.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like, I was in a team where everybody was individual. You know, like Gordon Hunter, and this is what I always wished he'd got a chance at the big job. You know, he was so unique, and then any player that you speak to who had anything to do with Gordy will say good stuff. And that, you know, you talk to a few of the Blues boys. Now, he might not have been the greatest coach, but just for managing people, getting them on song with a plan and a direction of things. He used people around him to help build all of that. He just knew how to work people. And so I never felt that anyone was gonna. And when the boys saw it, you know, at you know, we were in the team room pre the game and stuff like that. They didn't give it the stuff. They thought it was hilarious. You know, we always thought it was a bit of a joke, but an important statement. You know, the Pacific's our backyard, not France's. And so I wore it. And I got a letter telling me off.
From who? Like the NZRU?
Yeah. All of that. And I still remember. So then we were going, because at the end of that season, that NPC, we were going to France. So, yeah, I think it must have been 99. Yeah. And
okay, so you were a big star at the time. This was like peak Josh Kronfeld.
Yeah. And then, Tree says to me...
Oh, this is Sir Colin Meads, Pine Tree.
Yeah.
I say he was All Black manager.
Well, I wonder if it was earlier. Was it earlier? Was it when I went over and got injured? It might have been earlier. Sorry, right. It may have been earlier. So, no, I was just you know, but I was playing in a, you know, with a really good Otago side and all that sort of. So it might have been, So the end of year in '95. I don't know.
It's
I'm sorry, I just can't pick where it fits in. But
I think the earlier into your All Black career it is, assuming it happened early on, the more impressive this is that you had the balls or the courage to...
The one thing that I do remember, and am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Colin Meads says to me, he goes, you Josh, look, I understand what you're doing with the headgear and stuff like that, but I don't want to fucking see it at all for the rest of the year. And I went, oh yeah, okay. And then he goes, but we get to France, I don't give a fuck.
You actually look like Colin Meads when you do the impression. It's amazing. Oh, wow.
You know, and so he got it, but he was just saying, look, I don't need any trouble while we're here in New Zealand. Let's just go under the radar. But when we get, so I actually had one already made up in black and white to go to France, to play against the French. Ironically, I've never got to play in France.
Oh, Yeah, so that must be around the same time that you had a moon boot on and you had the no nukes.
Yeah. So it would have been 95.
Right.
In the 95.
Oh, so that moon boot with the no nukes logo on, that happened after you got that injury.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So it is 95. Yeah,
right.
Sorry, mate.
Is that where you cried in front of Colin Meads?
Oh yeah.
Because I've got a book out there from this amazing, beautiful coffee table book that Rick Salezzo was behind called This I Know Is True, and it's like profiles of some New Zealanders, and Colin Meads is in there, and he's talking about the last time he cried, and he thinks it was when he had like whooping cough when he was 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
So the man never cried.
Yeah.
So you...
Oh, yeah. So you need to understand the situation. So I've just blown my ankle, and I hop into the changing room, and they freak out, and they usher me into a side room, just next to the changing room, and because the boys are all getting ready to play the game, and we were all jammed into this tiny room, like smaller than this room, and I'm sitting on the seat, and the physio is on there, the doc standing over the top of him, Colin Meads standing over the top of him, and then 2 coaches. I think it was Earl and
Laurie.
And the doctor grabs my ankle and he just bends it round, and it goes round basically past 90 degrees and just keeps going. And I've got no pain, none at all, which means you've ruptured everything. Mm. And the doc, I'm sure the physio goes, he just says it's fucked. Anyway, I just burst into tears because, I wanted to play in France, and I burst into tears, and then all of a sudden I start laughing. I'm crying and I'm laughing, and
just at the comedy of the situation.
It's so ridiculous. And then I'm angry, and then I'm back crying and everything like that. And I remember looking out and gazing into Tree's eyes, and I could just see him just not knowing where to look and looking really uncomfortable. And then I don't know, I was regaling the story to Rick one time, and Rick said to me, well, do you know the rest of that story? And I says, nah. And he goes, well, Tree came out, and he goes, Rick, what do I do? Well, and Rick goes, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I've got one of my boys in there and he's crying. I don't know what to do. And Rick goes, well, I think he'd be, he's pretty upset. You give him a moment, he'll be fine, Tree. Anyway, Tree, being Tree, he disappears, and he goes in, and he goes into the team bag and grabs a 22 All Black jersey, and he comes out and he goes, yeah, take this home. Don't fucking tell anyone. And I said, and what people won't realise is the humour of it is that you don't get an All Black jersey to take home unless you play a test. But he'd seen one of his boys crying and that was his way of dealing with it. But don't tell anyone.
Oh, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But does that, have you still got that jersey? It would feel kind of hollow, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think I have. And I do, but part of me, because of who Sir Colin Meads was and how much I grew to love who he was as a person, wishes that I still had that, or I just knew where it had gone to. I haven't given away many of my jerseys to to sell for charity or whatever. I've given away jerseys to people who are very sick.
I've heard there's people that have been buried in Josh Kronfeld
sort of
jerseys.
stuff. Yeah,
that's special.
Yeah. So, I don't. That's. I don't need them for anything else really. And I was sitting now, and more recently, I actually went and did a fundraiser for Billy Stearman, and that's probably the first one I ever said, here, sell it, because it's just to get him some money, because he was paying off the back of his own pocket to go and practice at Chopu for the Olympics. So I thought, take one of these.
So you're not overly sentimental? Have you got?
I'm not now. I think I was. like there's a few jerseys. I mean, obviously in 95, my first jersey against Canada, I've got that. And, you know, I've got, I definitely want to keep one of the 96s. I still need to give one back to Sir Michael Jones. I haven't done that. It's coming.
What do you mean give it?
Oh, well, so I asked Sir Michael if I could have one of his jerseys and he could have one of mine, but I hadn't washed it at the time. And it had gone away into the kit bag. So he gave me, and it's got signed to Josh from Michael Jones, but I've still got it there. I just need to go around and give it to him.
Was he the same position as you?
He was originally, right, obviously, but you know, when I sort of had made, you know, solidified where I was, he you know, he played number 6 because in 95, massive year, when I came back. I got actually dropped by Laurie for Sir Michael, and I still remember I've been dropped a couple of times at different periods of my games for different reasons, but got dropped for this time, and I remember when Laurie was sort of telling me, we're only doing it not because of how you play, but we feel like Michael has a more abrasive tackle than you, and I went, okay, yeah, and I didn't even hear that. All I could hear was, I've been dropped for Michael Jones. You know, oh my goodness, Michael Jones is replacing me.
You're fine, I'm okay with it.
You know, I didn't even hear that. Don't get me wrong, I was gutted, and as it worked out, you know, like Michael ended up getting, I think it might have got a head knock and coming off at half time, and that was the last time he ever played ahead of me at 7. So, and you know, it was super special for me. I mean, I got to play with one of my idols next to me. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking code, game, you know, pretty special. So Michael Jones, Zinzan Brook, and myself on the sides. You know, that was pretty amazing.
It's epic. Was it? Yeah. What are your recollections of first making the All Blacks? Was it intimidating? Must have been. Who didn't speak to you? I've heard so many stories about like Fitzy not speaking to people in the first few weeks of the year.
Yeah, no, Fitzy. No, he spoke to me because they all did. They had different ways of managing in there. I mean, I wasn't a real young guy when I made the All Blacks. I was 24, 25. But you know, like they definitely, there's that school of hard knocks. You know, I remember when we were doing the camps in 94, and at the start of 94, I broke my jaw. And so I didn't play any Super Rugby, and then they were going to have to pick a World Cup team from that. So I didn't think there was any chance of me. No, sorry, it would have been, I broke my jaw at the start of 95, didn't play any Super Rugby. And so I didn't think I was going to make it. So when we were doing these training camps, I had one of those boxers mouth guards to keep my jaw closed because I was just come back from that. And you know, we trained really hard and physically. And I remember Sean, I was standing there and I came around the side of a ruck and was going to join the next part of the phase. And Sean Fitzpatrick leans out as I'm running past and hooks me straight in the stomach and drops me. And like I'm bringing up my lunch and, you know, like I'm trying to get up and you know, Laurie comes over and goes, "Get up. All Blacks don't show pain." And I'm just going, trying to cough and stuff like this and everything like that. And I got up and got on with it and everything like that. And I've never quite understood why it happened. But I started to think, you know, like when I break it down, it was actually just to see whether you were up for it. You know, like there's two things that could have happened, you know. Could have, obviously, it decapacitated me right then in that moment. But I got up, got on with stuff, started going hard, you know, and reacted. And I got him a bit later, you know, that's just what it, but if I'd gone ridiculous, got up and then tried to chase him around and go Hila Chicken, he's no good, loses the plot, you know.
Red mist.
really missed. And then, but I got up and then just got on with the job, you know. And so it was old school of hard knocks to see what aptitude I had for reaction, you know, how I was going to respond to it. And for me, it was just ignoring it. But yeah, it's
strange though in reflection, because it is just how it was at the time. But how things are now, which it seems far more inclusive, and surely that's much more conducive for a better team environment.
Oh, we know that, but you got to remember, everything that was New Zealand's professional starting point was amateur based. You know, like dudes used to stand on each other all the time. You know, there was an essence of, you know, if you couldn't beat them physically, then you took them out. You know, like, you know, all the old school stories that we all laugh about with, you know, guys punching each other in the line-outs and stuff like that. You know, none of that stuff was still happening. You know, and even in the first year of professionalism to the second year, the cameras became more involved in what was going on off the ball, you know. Like I used to get taken out all the time. Like, if the guys in my team weren't looking after me, you know, I could have been maimed pretty badly, you know. Like, it just, I can fully remember guys like Jamie Joseph and Robin Brook and all your kind of heavy enforcers coming to my rescue at different times, you know? Because you're at the bottom, your arm's pinned and someone's dropping a knee into your face, or, you know, giving you the 6-punch combo, you know?
That's terrifying.
You're trying to move out of the way. Arms pinned.
So let's talk about 95. So it's your first year in the All Blacks. It's also the World Cup year, and it's the year where Jonah sort of burst onto the scene. And I was watching some YouTube clips last night in anticipation of this, and that England game in particular.
Yeah.
And I think Jonah's third try out of those 4 against England, like, you pass him the ball and then he goes away with it. What are your recollections of that time, that tournament, Jonah Mania?
Oh, look, I just felt blessed to be in South Africa. You know, simple as that. There wasn't anything else. I was super fit. I was super, like, focused to be an All Black. I wanted to be making a statement as much as I could about, because I mean, they'd left Michael Jones at home and taken me, so I felt that pressure a little too. You know, maybe not in the forefront, but just a little subconscious, felt that I had to do more than
to validate the decision.
Yeah, validate this decision. And then, but I also felt like I was part of something really special too, you know, like with that team. That was a good team. And everyone knows the final outcome. And like we've already spoken about what South Africa was and what it was. And I genuinely believe there was a fate that played into the whole process. And I know people talk about Susie and everything, but there was just too many things that led to South Africa getting to where they got and kicking that final drop kick, you know? And so, I look back and I remember games and I think fondly of it and all that sort of stuff, but I just feel like I was involved in something special. And I don't think I took the hit that we lost as bad as some of the older boys, you know, because they really, they really felt it. I was new and I was still excited about what was coming and up and coming, you know, and that's probably more when I look at it. And I felt to be playing next to Jonah Lomu at his absolute best, and when people mention his name, my name gets mentioned as, you know, being part of that, you know, because I was either throwing a pass to him or receiving a pass, just like the rest of the boys. That's a privilege, you know, and I feel honoured to have been part of that. But if I think about that tournament time, I still come back to the one game against England because it was so different to any other game that I prepared for. Like I've never seen such intensity and craziness and like fanatic responses to being absolutely focused. Like I would say, out of the older boys of that 4-pack, you know, your Sean Fitzpatricks, your Robin Brooks, your Zimbran Brook, you know, all those characters, Olo Brown, stuff like that. Every one of them would have reminded me of my job once every day leading up to that game.
Like what sort of reminders?
Oh, you know, you've got to make sure that you're doing this in this phase, or you know, we want this when we're playing this situation. And
like at what point? At training, or just if you're in the lift or in line for breakfast?
Or you'll be practicing it, and you go, remember, Josh, you need to be off that way quicker when you're doing such and such. You know, like it was.
Because you were a young loose unit, or
well, I was still. I played a lot of rugby. I was 24. But it's just what it was, and I was just like, yeah. It was getting kind of boring. You know what I mean? and I still to this day, when they were doing the team speeches, like team chat in the huddle just before you're about to run out, and Zinzan Brook was just frothing at the mouth. And when he was saying, we've got to do this, and then he turned around to me and Josh, I need you to do this, and he literally just spat all over me with froth, and Fitzy was the same, and I've never seen that amount, and it was all because of what had happened in the previous year or 2 years ago when they were in Twickenham, and I didn't go on that tour, and so I didn't feel the hurt that they were feeling, and so. You could argue maybe we played our final in that game, I never felt that though. I've seen it internationally and I've felt it in other teams and things I've been involved in. But that game was massive,
Yeah, it's incredible. But like career defining for Jonah, obviously. Yeah. Did you have a room with him or anything?
With Big J? No, I didn't actually room with Big J.
He would have definitely commanded the double beer.
Yeah. Look, it's funny how all that stuff works. You come in, and I can remember when I room with Richard Lowe, you go, that's your bed, and then it'll be, there's a problem here. And I go, well, what's the problem, Lowe? He goes, there's no cup of tea. That was just how it all worked. Big J was and I were great movie buddies. Like probably in the entire time we were together, we probably went to a movie at least together every test that we played together. And that movie could be at the start of the week or the night before, even just depended on what was going on in the week and what was on at the movie theatre, and so Big J and I would often just let the other boys know what movies are on, and if anyone wanted to come, they'd come. Sometimes we'd have the whole crew there, and other times it'd be just me and him.
Oh, that's cool memories. An odd couple, an unlikely couple.
Yeah. No, he was great. He's like, as much as everybody knew about him, and some of the stuff he used to say at home, and about, man, he came up from a tough neighbourhood. I can't even imagine it, and so the way he comes across, is that kind of calm giant, but his historical background and where he came from also explains why he was such a ferocious attacking weapon,
Yeah, how good. You must have played against him, for Otago or the Highlanders?
Yep.
Yeah, and you were a very good tackler. Did you ever...
Yeah, look, I only rate myself about 50-50 on a one-on-one tackle with Jonah.
That's a pass.
Yeah, I know. I remember one time, one of my attributes, I reckon, in rugby was I was always able to see a picture rather than just the contact point. So I knew where people were coming from and how they were coming into the situation. I just could see that. And some people will say otherwise probably, but in my eyes, that sort of... And I remember seeing Jonah out of the corner of my eye sort of starting to come into a backline move, and I thought, right, you're coming in. I can see that this is going to happen. And so I picked the point where he came in, and just as he got the ball, I hit him as clean and as perfect as I could. Like, couldn't have hit him any better. And I don't know if you've played rugby, but you know when you get someone perfectly and you feel them fold in half and they start to go down and you're still going forward through the tackle, and I'm thinking, right, I've got you. And then I end up on the ground and I look up as he runs through John Leslie and scores under the post. and I'm going, and I look at my hands to go as if, what just happened there? And I've got a piece of his shorts in either hand. And I just went, that's just not fair.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow.
And then...
That's the power and strength of him.
Yeah,
Eh?
and then Jonah, I actually injured Jonah in a game too. And I'm not sure if it was a super game or whether it was when he was playing counties. And he had a knee problem that he sort of struggled with for quite a long time. And I went in to make a tackle, and for whatever reason I caught the side of my head with his knee, and anyway he went off with a knee injury, and I ended up with 30 stitches in my head, you know, and he always goes, oh, you undid my knee.
Well, I got 30 stitches. Oh, that's good. Hey, thanks for sharing those memories. That's cool. Oh, and did you meet Mandela?
Yeah, well, I got to shake his hand. Gordon Hunter became quite good friends with the security guy, and I can't remember Rory's last name, but he used to come down and catch up with Gordy Hunter at the pub that we were staying in, you know, with the Super Rugby, you know, which is pretty amazing, you know. So he had a relationship there, and you know, for Nelson to go and just listen to the security guard and come there, hey, can you meet a mate of mine? It's pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I didn't actually go and meet him, and that's because all the boys were doing that. And I just thought, man, that's a bit full on. But I did poke my head and have a little look. But only really just to shake his hand when he came down the aisle.
So you didn't say hey bro to his mum?
No hey bros to his mum.
But when you meet someone like that, do you feel like some sort of presence or some sort of aura, or not really?
Yeah, no, you do. Like, but I mean, you got to understand. Like, for me, in that given situation, was like, what the hell's going on? Why are we taking so long? You know, and then it's like you look down and you go, oh, it's Nelson Mandela. You know.
Oh, so this is before the game, before the final.
Yeah,
okay.
But I didn't meet him in a social situation. Right. And I could have. But everybody else is doing it. It's just like, he's had enough of us morons. You know? So
you met him before. Why didn't they do the meet and greet after the final, like when you're getting the silver medal or whatever?
Oh, look, I thought, like it makes perfect sense.
Right.
Because, like, I think that game took maybe 40 minutes to start from by the time we got out, you know. That's a long time. You got your anthems, the huckers, the walk down the line, the singing, the plane flying across, all that sort of stuff going on. It's massive. It's special, you know. There'll be a photo, or obviously the video footage of him shaking hands with me, but I've never seen it. So.
And then after that, so the Susie thing. There's some food poisoning thing before the Rugby World Cup final. But you didn't get sick, right?
No,
You managed to avoid it.
I was pretty loose in the scheme of things, and had obviously diarrhea to the early hours in the morning, so I didn't have great sleep on Thursday night. But sort of by Friday, I was eating and not feeling too bad. But guys like Jeff Wilson and there's a few other boys were really sick still, you know. So whatever went through in the food definitely went through. Whether it was Susie.
Was there a Susie there?
I don't know.
But it's one of those fabulous parts of New Zealand sporting folklore now, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah, I mean, none of the boys would admit to sickness being the reason why we lost that game. They just wouldn't. But it was definitely a factor. And it was a massive, like that. Like I said, that World Cup was absolutely unique, and there'll never be one like it again.
And I think at that stage, so that was only the third ever World Cup. So there was 87 in New Zealand, which we won, 91, and then 95. So I think at that stage, we probably thought it was our right to win every sort of World Cup.
Yeah, look, I also think that team, you know, like, then that's why 96 is so special, because it effectively was that team that went into 96, and then with bar a few extras and newbies and stuff like that, that went over there and won its first ever tour.
Actually, I've got there was even a book put out about that. That's how special that was, hey? What were you called, the Incomparables? No, what was the...
Something like that. I can't remember. People know these things. I never know these things.
Yeah, but did you... So I had Cully here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about that, and he sort of didn't realise the significance of it at the time.
Yeah.
And he talked about how after winning the clean sweep series, he saw some of the old ex-All Blacks, like I think Don Clark, he mentioned.
All of them.
Like bawling his eyes out, and he sort of didn't really understand the significance of it.
They were so grateful, man. They were so pumped on it, you know. Tree, BJ Lahore, Brian Williams, you know, the list goes on. At some point, they all shook your hand and got a little emotional about it. And again, like Christian said, I didn't notice it. I was just over there playing bloody some games, you know, trying to work out how I could go for a surf and at J Bay, you know, like it was, and I reckon it took even as long as 10 years before I start to understand the reality of it. Because, I mean, I've been going to South Africa since I was 21, you know, with Super 8, Super 10 and Super 12. So you knew and understood what the place was like. And then numerous, games there. But I hadn't played against South Africa other than that World Cup final, you know, in a tour situation, because they're the super, super generous people to a fault. But I think it's all part of a ploy to make sure you're eating too much meat. So weigh you down, you know, just that whole game.
And the 99 World Cup, that was the one, you got knocked out by France, and there was that massive backlash back home.
Yeah.
What was that like for you at the time? Could you feel the disappointment of the nation?
Yeah, you did, but I never got any of it myself personally. You know, I never had anyone say, "Hey, man, you're crap" and whatnot, or anything like that. They were all people in New Zealand. You know, they knew that. You know, I always try to do my best by it. And when I look at that team, like, I always felt like we were a team of absolute superstars. You know, like, you go through the list of the back line, you go through the list and the forwards, but I felt we were a team of individuals, not a team. You know, I always felt that. You know, when...
A team of stars rather than a star team, as the saying goes.
Yeah. So, you know, when I remember saying at a huddle when things started to go a little bit pear-shaped, I said, hey, let's not panic. Let's just stay in the system, play for each other, make our tackles, and it'll all happen. But everybody started just going off on tangents and trying to score tries themselves and...
Panicking.
Yeah, it was definitely panic. It was definitely panic. And it never needed to be a panic movement. Yes, they'd changed the momentum of the game, but we just needed to hold on the ball and build phases and stuff. But the panic had already started. You know, guys were going off on doing their own thing and on a different tangent.
You seem to have, you know, quite a good grasp on what's important and what's not, and a good sort of balance and perspective on life. So how long does something like that haunt you for? Do you manage to sort of draw a line in the sand at the end of the season and go into 2000, or does it sort of play on your mind a bit for years afterwards, or what?
Oh, look, I think I think the thing that annoys me is that I went to 2 World Cups and never had a chew at the Golden Cup, and that's probably the only thing. But nah, it's done, it's dusted. You know, like you've got to leave stuff behind. You know, and I think if you're not leaving that stuff behind, and you know, like I play enough mind games as a 53-year-old with certain things. I don't need that shit on me. So don't try and put it back on me, mate. Yeah. Take it. You have it.
Well, it just takes up space, eh?
Yeah.
You just don't need it. Yeah. How are you? You've been so generous with your time. It's been an hour 40. How are you doing for time? How are we?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Geez, well, there's so much of the Josh Kronfeld story that we haven't even talked about, like winning Treasure Island twice, and
I've done lots of crazy stuff, and I've.
It's been a hell of a life.
Yeah, I've kind of say to people, you know, like, well, if I had to check out tomorrow, and I don't want to, but you know, at least I've filled a fair bit of the bucket, and you know, like I've had some really amazing moments. You know, I enjoyed facets of Treasure Island, and I hated facets of Treasure Island. The cool thing I think about the first one is getting to know everybody in that crew. I love that part. You know, we were sitting around a bonfire, telling stories, talking like this, with very little food and whatever we were stolen, and you know, and I think that was kind of special. I never liked the way stuff could change to where I've always been sort of pretty honest about stuff. You know?
Oh, the manipulation aspect.
Yeah, I never liked that. And didn't like playing it, and so. Especially when I'm, which is the game full fold now. When I played it as an older player, I just definitely couldn't do that. It's I don't know. And then Dancing with Stars was awesome. Like me and Bron, we did a bit of post that, but then my ankles just started to become a real postle.
Yeah, how did you and Bronwyn, your wife, who is the owner of Tony and Guy?
Yeah.
She's one of the, and she's like cut hair for like Ozzy Osbourne and
yeah. She's a legend in herself.
How did you guys meet? Was she familiar with who you were?
I kind of knew her through Warren Alcock. She's the identical twin of Warren's wife, and so, but that was just like pre everything. Just knew her, but I guess the first time I started to really chat with her was when I came back from my overseas trip. I've been to the UK and everything like that. Came back, and I had long hair, and it was starting to dread up, and I had it in a man bun, and I had to do something in Dunedin for New Zealand Rugby, and they asked me to come along and be with Tree and everything like that, and Tree was there and everything there, but it seemed like Tree was kind of avoiding me. I kept trying to catch his eye and everything like that. Anyway, so I finally rocked up to him and I says, hey Tree, how you going? And he looked at me like really strangely, and I thought he didn't recognise me, and I says, it's Josh Kronfeld. And he goes, I know who you fucking are. Don't know about the fucking haircut. And I was mortified. I literally, next time, obviously, Bronwyn cut hair, and she said if I ever wanted a haircut, and next time I was in Auckland, which was ironically the following week, went up and cut my hair. And, everything started to... we didn't actually, no, we didn't get together then either. It was, but that started, more chat, more talk and stuff like that. So,
so it's like a slow burn.
It was a real slow burn.
Yeah.
And then, so I'd known her probably 12 years or whatever. And then came up doing some stuff in Auckland and just keep bumping into each other and stuff, like different events, like nothing to do with either of us. And not organised, not planned, and it just kind of happened ergonomically or whatever they say it is. And
are you sort of a loner, or are you like a people person? Because you've spent all this part of your career in like a team sport environment where you're surrounded by others. But then, when you retire from sport, you do this like motorcycle journey around America and around South America. So you obviously, and you like surfing as well. So
I like my own company.
Yeah.
And I like sitting out in the water, and if no one talks to me, I'm happy. But if someone has a chat about something, I'm okay with that too. And, like I can't go anywhere without sitting down and having, selfies and chats and that's just part of the life. But I definitely don't mind my own company and I'm happy in that person. So yes, you could argue I'm a bit of a loner, but I also like being around my friends and having the chats and catching up. Like it's been a couple of reunions organised with the rugby boys, and we hardly ever talk. Some of the boys do, but oh my goodness, when you're back in amongst it, it's like nothing's changed. And you're that same dude with your same job within the team, and it all just kicks off like nothing's changed. So, and I enjoy that. It's been great. But no, I'm super comfy in my own space and happy doing my own thing. And but I think it's just happened, just the way stuff sort of happens. Kind of lucky that way.
Yeah, and your mental health, how's that been? You've been through some stuff, eh? So you've got Bronwyn. There was a story in Women's Weekly where she talked about her endometriosis and she was crying several times a day for years. And then there was your son born with cerebral palsy. I mean, one thing I've learned from doing this podcast: no one gets to the privilege of making it to their 50s without going through some adversity.
Yeah, well, I've always been good at compartmentalisation to a fault, apparently. I remember John Hart gave us the opportunity to have talk to a sports psychiatrist and stuff like that. And she came out and says, well, you clearly are good at compartmentalisation. I said, well, what's that? He said, well, you box stuff up, put it over there, but I don't know if you address it. When I was, well, if it's boxed up and it's over there and then it's not bothering me, isn't that a good thing? I don't know. Like I've really always struggled to understand what but mental health is for people, and you're telling me what that is, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Like if I'm grumpy or I'm not feeling it or whatever, I just go and do something I love, and it'll drag me out of whatever that is. So I guess I've had to learn how to be receptive to it, and be there for my mates or ask the question and how are you? And then sometimes just be in the air, and also maybe not when to try and problem fix, because I am a problem fixer. I think I like to try and help.
I think a lot of us guys are.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't actually. And that I've learned that probably through Bronwyn. She doesn't want help. She just wants to be able to tell me why she's feeling the way she's feeling. She's gone through some stuff that's been driven through. I guess the hormone side of things, like always being out of balance through the, leaky gut and then the endometriosis, impacting on all of that as well, and, scarred up ovarian tubes and, all that sort of stuff, fallopian tubes. And so all of that stuff, I guess, you get to understand of how you fit into the picture, but oh man, it's so complex. It's so difficult. So, but I do think if you can be an ear and if you think you've got a way to help, you just say, you just say that. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not great at it.
Yeah, but that must have been a challenging time for you, because you, especially being a fixer and being a relatively uncomplicated guy, having this person that you love that's going through medical stuff and crying frequently every day.
She wasn't crying in front of me all the time.
Right.
It's just.
It's like every time I cry, Josh throws me a jersey and says, "Don't tell anyone."
Yeah, no. I think I've learned to listen a lot more. you know, and even with the boys, you know, there's nothing wrong with a hug, you know, or just put your arm around someone. Even that's just enough. I really think there's, you know, one of the boys jokes about all the negative ions that you get inside a barrel when you're surfing, you know, and that's what the sea offers up. It evens everything out. And you know, I reckon there's some truth to that. So, you know, that bodily contact, it just evens all the energies out, you know. I really do think we are just energy. We are just creatures of energy, and some people suck other people's energy dry.
100%.
And some people offer it up freely, and some people are really healing, and some people. So I just feel that that's, you know, sometimes it just gets around trying to be a partnership and a group, and that'll do the job, you know. We all rally around friends when they get really sick, so but we probably wait too long to do that.
Do you feel like as you're getting older, you're getting better at like showing some vulnerability and, you know, talking about some niggly things?
I'm just not embarrassed anymore.
Yeah,
you know, like I just don't care.
I think that's another pleasant surprise that comes with age, eh?
Oh well, I mean, I also just but I learned obviously working with Crowd Goes Wild. You know, when you're meeting all these amazing athletes, and that's what I love most about working for that show, and they're all from different networks and walks of life and what they do and how they do it, and but they all do it differently, and it's kind of crazy. But so sometimes to get the fun or have the joke, or because I mean that's the gag with CGW, is that we have a laugh and there's a gag or there's something going on. It's taking the piss out of yourself, like and people will say, oh, that was really funny, you know, that you're walking around your Speedos and rah or whatever, you know, and whereas my missus, she doesn't see the humour in it. Why are you taking the piss out of yourself? You know, like, you're not like that. And I'm going, well, it doesn't worry me. You know, I've got so used to it, you know. Or one of the crew taking the piss out of you, and for someone who didn't know that we're friends, that might sound a little bit, that's not quite right. But it's okay. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if it comes from a good place in your relationship with that person, you know what you can get away with, and whether it's being mean or not. What about regrets? You got any regrets?
Yeah. I regret having the injury when I had the injury. I don't mind that I had it, but I just never felt I was as good as I was that first year.
Yeah.
I just didn't have I just didn't have anything, you know, like I was 30% what I was when I started, like instantly. And, you know, maybe I could have rehabbed better and that would have been fine, but I just didn't have that.
But you just didn't have the tools or the information available at the time, did you?
But that's rugby-wise, that's probably only a regret. There's heaps of regrets I've made saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, across lots of things. Trying to be funny or whatever, and it's come out with a big lead balloon.
But stuff that the other person would remember, or like saying "Hey, bro" to Taika's mum.
Yeah, well,
no one remembers that stuff apart from yourself.
I know, but yeah, you know, like, yeah, there's been moments, and I don't need to say them all.
Okay, and last one, are you proud of yourself? It's a tricky question for New Zealanders, eh?
Yeah. I'm proud of myself for the way I've applied stuff, took myself to stuff. Yeah. Am I proud that I'm an All Black and stuff like that? For sure. Like, you know, like that was something I wanted to do, and I never wanted to be an All Black initially. You know, it wasn't until I started playing at that top level and playing against my peers who were All Blacks that I went, oh, actually, maybe this is something I should consider, you know. But I think, you know, I think the thing that I'm most proud about is that I'm open to trying stuff, you know, or just being able to smile at how inadequate I am at different things, you know. but I'm giving it a good whack. Because I do think that young people today really struggle with putting themselves out there and having a go, whether it's just in front of their friends or in front of the national television or whatever. But they're reluctant to have a go. But I think, you know, I've always thought, oh yeah, look, it doesn't matter, just have a go. So I think, yeah, I'm proud of the fact that but again, maybe that's mum and dad, you know. We haven't even talked about that part of my life. And, you know, mum and dad are just, they were hippies, they were like the good life, but they've created me as, you know, gave me a really centered and you know, balanced person, I think. Most of the time, when I'm not unhinged, which isn't too regular. We didn't get into that. Like, there's definitely elements of you and your old man. Like, didn't he like chop a toe off at work once and then just carry on working till the end of the day? That was always the joke. He, you know, like, but he, you know, if you want a tough man story, put chainsaw for his leg, and then went right. We're not. Packed up the family. I remember him opening it up and looking at it, and then going, oh, that's not too good, and then closing it up, and then just ripping his t-shirt off his own back and shoving it in there, and then tying it on. He says, and then loading everybody up, and we're like an hour and a half drive from the hospital, and then loading the whole family and driving us to the hospital, and then admitting himself to hospital and mum taking us home. that was my dad. That's loose. That was my dad. And like, and all the boys would have different versions of stories of how tough and hard he was, you know. And he had these crazy hands, you know, like just workers' hands that were gnarled and black and full of gunk, you know. He hadn't done any work for a week, and he'd eat a sandwich and all his hands would end up in a sandwich. I'm just thinking about it, you know. It was that. I'm trying to describe the hands, you know, and he was loud and he was abrasive and but man, he was like the yappy dog that was going to protect everybody, you know. And he played dad to heaps of kids. Through both my brother and I's rugby careers, you know, like loading the kids up on the back of the truck. It was awesome. I can't talk much longer though, bro, because I have to go to work.
We're going to wrap up. We didn't even get to talk about your brutal testicle injury. That'll have to wait for another time.
That's a good story, mate. But
to be continued.
You never know. I can reiterate that at another time. But
mate, this has been fabulous.
The key thing that I would want to do is just, you know, and especially with the tennis stuff, is just to finish. It's just to say, dudes, get in around your mates, have the conversation, encourage each other to do the checks, because so much of the stuff can be avoided because too many of the boys checking out way too early, you know.
Unnecessarily so.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, this has been great. I'm proud of you, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time today, Josh Kronfeld.
Thanks, man. Cheers.